While the world watches traditional powerhouses clash for economic supremacy, something remarkable happened that most people missed entirely. Australia, yes, the land of kangaroos and endless beaches, just quietly outpaced economies we thought were untouchable. We're talking about Switzerland's centuries-old banking empire, Norway's massive oil wealth, South Korea's technological dominance, and Mexico's manufacturing surge, all surpassed in GDP per capita by a country many still think of as primarily exporting raw materials. In the next 10 minutes, you'll understand exactly how this happened. The three transformational shifts that propelled Australia past these economic giants, and what this reveals about the changing nature of wealth in the 21st century. If you're curious about economic transformations that reshape the global order, hit that subscribe button now. We break down these shifts without the hype, just the facts and the data that matters. So how does a country of just 27 million people end up wealthier per capita than nations with centuries of industrial tradition? Let's start with the most surprising piece of this puzzle. Australia sits on some of the richest mineral deposits on Earth. Iron or coal, natural gas, lithium, rare earths. But here's what most people don't realize. Resource wealth usually destroys economies, not builds them. Economists call it the Dutch disease, when resource exports are so profitable that they inflate your currency, making all your other industries uncompetitive. Venezuela, Nigeria, Russia, all have cautionary tales written in oil and minerals. Australia faced this exact risk in the 2000s during the mining boom. Let me tell you about Liam Chun, a third-generation miner in Western Australia. His grandfather rode the iron ore boom of the 1960s, built a comfortable life, then watched it evaporate when prices crashed. His father experienced the same cycle in the 1990s. By 2015, when Liam was 28 and working in the mines himself, his town of 15,000 people faced 40% unemployment. Commodity prices had crashed again, and it looked like history repeating itself. Another boom-bust cycle that would leave communities devastated. But something different happened this time. By 2023, Liam is managing automated mining operations that extract 3 times more value with half the workforce. The town didn't just survive, it transformed. Mining companies, forced to become more efficient during the downturn, invested heavily in automation and data analytics. And crucially, the town diversified. Using skills developed in mining technology, local firms moved into renewable energy tech manufacturing, producing components for solar farms and battery storage systems. This wasn't luck. According to IMF 2024 data, Australia's GDP per capita reached $66,627, surpassing Switzerland at $65,280, Norway at $64,752, South Korea at $33,147, and Mexico at $12,673. But unlike previous commodity booms, where wealth evaporated when prices fell, Australia did something different. They created the Future Fund in 2006, a sovereign wealth fund that's grown from $60 billion to $230 billion by 2024. Resource boom profits went into long-term investments, infrastructure, education, research, not just consumption. Here's the key insight. Resource wealth only becomes sustainable when you pair it with intentional diversification and investment in human capital. Australia didn't avoid the resource curse through luck. They engineered around it through policy. But minerals alone don't explain why Australia outpaced Switzerland's sophisticated financial system or South Korea's technological prowess. That requires understanding the second transformation that most analysts overlooked. While everyone focused on Australia's mining sector, a quiet revolution was happening in services, particularly education and professional services. Australia transformed from a commodity exporter into a knowledge economy powerhouse. Consider Dr. Priya Mehta's journey. She arrived in Sydney in 2012 from India to study biomedical engineering at the University of New South Wales. She's now one of 715,000 international students who contribute $28 billion annually to Australia's economy, making international education the country's fourth largest export, behind only iron, ore, coal, and natural gas. That's according to Australia's Department of Education 2023 report. But here's where it gets interesting. Priya didn't just study and leave. She joined a research team developing water purification technology using graphene filtration. That technology is now deployed across Southeast Asia, providing clean water to 2 million people. Her team has spun out a company employing 150 researchers and engineers. This pattern repeats thousands of times. International students become researchers, entrepreneurs, and highly skilled workers who build entire industries. Services now represent 70% of Australia's GDP, matching Switzerland's economic structure. Universities like Melbourne, Sydney, and Australian National University rank in the global top 50, creating innovation ecosystems that rival Silicon Valley in specific niches like mining technology, agricultural tech, and medical research. Professor Ross Garnott, one of Australia's leading economists at the University of Melbourne, argues that Australia avoided the middle-income trap by investing resource boom profits into universities, research infrastructure, and skill migration, creating a knowledge economy alongside, not instead of, resource extraction. The takeaway here is crucial. Economic transformation doesn't mean abandoning your traditional strengths. It means building complementary capabilities that create resilience. Australia didn't choose between rocks and knowledge. They leveraged one to build the other. This education-driven growth created something unexpected, a demographic advantage that countries like South Korea and Japan are desperately trying to replicate, but struggling to achieve. Here's a stark reality. Much of the developed world is aging into economic stagnation. Japan's population is declining. South Korea's fertility rate hit 0.72, the lowest in the world. Italy, Germany, Spain, all facing demographic crises that threaten their economic futures. Fewer workers supporting more retirees is a mathematical recipe for slower growth and fiscal stress. Australia engineered a different outcome through strategic immigration policy. Meet Nguyen Pham, who arrived in Melbourne in 2008 under the Skilled Migration Program as a 26-year-old software engineer for Vietnam. By 2019, he founded a fintech startup processing cross-border payments between Australia and Southeast Asia. His company now employs 200 people across Melbourne and Ho Chi Minh City, processing $2 billion in annual transactions. Australian census data shows that 30% of startups in the country are founded by first-generation migrants, far higher than the 20% of the population they represent. The numbers tell a powerful story. According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics 2024 data, Australia's population grew 1.5% annually over the past decade, while South Korea's population shrank 0.2% annually and Japan's declined 0.5%. Critically, Australia's skilled migration program brings in approximately 160,000 people annually with median ages between 27 and 32, the prime working and entrepreneurial years. The Grattan Institute, an independent economic think tank, calculated in their 2023 report that immigration added 1.1 percentage points to annual GDP growth from 2010 to 2023. That doesn't sound dramatic until you realize that's the difference between robust growth and stagnation when your baseline is 2 to 3% annually. Now, let's be clear about complexity here. This isn't a perfect story. Housing affordability in Sydney and Melbourne has reached crisis levels, with median home prices hitting 12 times annual income. Infrastructure strain is real. Roads, hospitals, schools struggling to keep pace with population growth. There are legitimate debates about the optimal immigration rate and its social impacts. But from a purely economic perspective, the demographic strategy worked. While peer nations face shrinking workforces and ballooning pension obligations, Australia maintained a healthy worker-to-retiree ratio and a constant injection of skills, entrepreneurship, and youth. The key lesson: Demographic strategy might be the most underestimated driver of long-term economic performance. Countries that solve their age structure problems through immigration, family policy, or productivity gains will outperform those that don't. It's that simple. These three factors, strategic resource management, services transformation, and demographic engineering, didn't happen by accident or good fortune. They reveal a broader lesson about what actually drives prosperity in the 21st century. Behind every economic success story is an institutional framework that enables good decision-making and efficient resource allocation. So what did Australia do differently at the policy level? According to OECD governance indicators from 2023, Australia ranks 9th globally for regulatory quality and 8th for government effectiveness. That's ahead of Switzerland and well ahead of South Korea and Mexico. But rankings don't tell you much. Let's look at specific mechanisms. One crucial policy, compulsory superannuation. Since 1992, Australian employers must contribute a percentage of wages, currently 11.5%, into retirement accounts for workers. This created a pool of $3.5 trillion in managed funds by 2024, the fourth largest pension system in the world in a country of just 27 million people. This capital fueled domestic investment, provided stability during global financial crises, and gave workers genuine retirement security without massive government pension obligations. Compare this to different approaches. Norway's sovereign wealth fund is state-controlled and invested almost entirely abroad. Switzerland's wealth came through banking secrecy and financial services. Australia created a hybrid model, private sector dynamism with strategic public investment. The recently established National Reconstruction Fund allocates $15 billion toward advanced manufacturing, renewable energy, and critical minerals processing, while maintaining generally open and competitive markets. But perhaps most importantly, Australia maintains strong institutional foundations. The Reserve Bank of Australia operates independently. Politicians can't manipulate monetary policy for short-term gain. The legal system is transparent and reliable. Australia ranks 13th globally in Transparency International's Corruption Index, ahead of the United States. Property rights are secure, contracts are enforced, and regulatory processes, while sometimes slow, are predictable. These boring institutional details matter more than any single brilliant policy. They create an environment where both resources and talent can be efficiently allocated, where long-term investment makes sense, and where people trust the system enough to take entrepreneurial risks. Let's synthesize what we've learned. Australia's overtaking of Switzerland, Norway, South Korea, and Mexico in GDP per capita isn't about one lucky break or one brilliant policy. It's the compound effect of several strategic decisions executed consistently over decades. They monetize resource wealth while avoiding the resource curse through sovereign wealth funds and diversification policies. They build a knowledge economy on the foundation of resource wealth, using mining profits to fund world-class universities and research. They solve the demographic crisis facing the developed world through large-scale, skilled immigration. And they maintain the institutional quality, independent central banks, transparent legal systems, low corruption, that allows good policy to actually work. This case study challenges several common assumptions. That resource economies can't innovate, Australia did. That small populations can't compete with giants, Australia does. That immigration strains economies. Australian evidence suggests the opposite with the right framework. But let's not paint this as a perfect success story. Significant challenges remain. Housing affordability is genuinely in crisis territory in major cities. Climate change poses existential risks to a country prone to droughts, floods, and bushfires. Trade dependency on China represents 35% of exports, a massive geopolitical vulnerability. And there are persistent inequality gaps, particularly affecting Indigenous Australians, that represent moral and economic failures. The real test comes next. Can Australia maintain this trajectory as global resource demands shift from coal and iron or toward lithium, copper, and rare earths for renewable energy? Can infrastructure investment keep pace with continued population growth? Can social cohesion hold amid rapid demographic change? These questions will define whether this economic rise is sustained or proves temporary. Here's my question for you, and I genuinely want to hear your analysis in the comments. Australia's model relies heavily on continuous immigration and resource extraction, two things that face environmental and social limits. Is this sustainable long-term, or will demographic and environmental pressures eventually force a fundamentally different approach? And thinking more broadly, could this model work for other middle power nations? Could Canada, Argentina, or Saudi Arabia replicate this formula? Or is Australia uniquely positioned with the right combination of resources, geography, and institutions? There's no obvious right answer here, and I think the comments will be fascinating. Share your perspective below. And if this kind of evidence-based economic analysis is valuable to you, subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.